The video you are about to watch contains spoilers for Hylics. If you want to play the game spoiler-free, viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed are the official opinion of Corvid Communications Incorporated. Please enjoy the video.
Do you ever feel the need to escape reality? Physical laws too tame for you? Then take recreational drugs. With recreational drugs, your body may still be bound to the physical world, but your mind is free to explore the universe, including curiosity about one's hand, hallucinations of pink elephants, being unable to comprehend normal speech and language, odd hunger,
and seeing nightmares beyond the veil.
Get your transcendental experience today. Recreational drugs.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who are concerned about our opening advertisement, that was in fact a joke. Corvid Communications Incorporated does not endorse any addictive substances, psychedelic or otherwise, except for maybe caffeine. Why bring them up? Because they tie back to our topic today. For those of you who do not know, I am Cawthorne, CEO of Corvid Communications Incorporated and host of both the Corvid Communications Twitch channel and the Cawthorne VTuber YouTube channel. Today, we're covering one of the most downright bizarre games I've ever seen. That's right, today we're talking about Hylics. Hylics is an RPG Maker game with an utterly unique visual style. Most of the game's art was made with claymation, and it gives the game a very surreal and at times unsettling atmosphere. While it plays like any standard RPG Maker game or JRPG in general, Hylics is definitely a standout title in more ways than one. Also, just a heads up, this one's probably going to be a shorter review since the game itself really isn't that long. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Hylics is a difficult game to discuss as far as its story goes. Not really because it covers any sort of very dark topics or anything. It's because the majority of the dialogue in this game is procedurally generated word salads that only kinda sort of vaguely hint at what's going on here.
A behavior woozily actualizes the biscuits. The people chill in a home. It is a domicile beside a petty mandible. It is an engine. Despite domicile. Meanwhile, Gibby, king of the moon, marks a mountain out of the art dirt.
So, here's what I can tell you based on what little can be gleaned from the dialogue, and how the story progresses. You play as Wayne, a person whose head is shaped like a crescent moon. I'm guessing a waning crescent moon, judging by their name. They seem to have a problem with someone named Gibby, who's apparently king of the moon. It's never established what Wayne's issue with Gibby is, only that apparently you're going to see him. Along the way, you meet some friends who join you on the quest for Gibby. Also, thankfully, they don't have procedurally generated dialogue, so you actually do know what you're supposed to do with these people. First, you have Dedosmoln, a humanoid being referred to exclusively in neutral pronouns, who seems to have a plant for a head and an obsession with paper cups and water coolers. He has the highest will stat, this game's version of magic points, and is effectively the best spellcaster for the party. Then you have Somsnosa. All the names in this game are kind of hard to pronounce, just kind of a warning. A blue lady who has you retrieve her magic gauntlets from her basement, since it's full of ambulant skulls who automatically kill you if they touch you. She seems to be a fighter-type character based on the fact that once she's in your party, you can squish bugs to up her mightiness stat, which makes her hit harder with the basic attack. And then last is Pangorma, a Dread Knight, who has you fight him before he'll join you. Naturally, he's kind of Magic Knight, judging by his flesh and will pools, which are decently large. You gain access to a boat, and later an airship, and eventually you buy a spaceship key from a random hot dog vendor, after misusing a money machine in a science lab, flying to the moon, running through Gibby's robot army, and finding out that Gibby is named for the fact that his head resembles a presumably gibbous moon. So you kill Gibby. He lets you know that he's rigged the moon to explode.
By the way, I set this floor to explode when I die. Say your prayers and banish your biscuits.
You escape, and the story ends, and you still know very little more than when you started. That is the entire story. I am not kidding you. In Hylics, you don't really get to learn about the story of this game. Most of the story threads you get are from the little bits of dialogue that aren't randomly generated, as I mentioned earlier. For example, Data Smoln is after the paper cups because in this game's world, they and the water coolers they allow you to use are ancient relics, which implies some sort of apocalyptic event happened in the past and the world was once a far more mundane place at one point. Somsnosa speaks with a degree of familiarity with Wayne, indicating they had some form of relationship, whether it was platonic or romantic is never expounded upon. Pangorma is sealed away and is, quote, the last of the Dread Knights, indicating that he himself is ancient and was once part of an order now long gone. In addition, there's some implied history between Gibby and Wayne, if only because Gibby says, Wayne, sorry for everything before he dies. But again, no more specifics are given. Now, I can't tell if the randomly generated dialogue holds some deeper meaning to the overall plot, or if it's just so the player can draw their own conclusions regarding what's going on, but it does make for a lot of difficulty figuring out what's going on. I can't help but wonder if this randomly generated dialogue is meant to encourage the players to explore and see everything, because they don't have any solid directions to go off of, other than just find Gibby.
What? At last, the noisome vessel is hard. Beside austere dirt, Wayne is expansively rendering a furnace outside a Perus. For it's below mere chemicals and concavities, my hideous vacuum will not be soaked. And now the time for effulgent pain rays draws to an end. Gibby, shiny, hawks wonderfully inside the sentimental lunar fortress. This beast is a chemical, far beyond the engine despite the government.
The majority of gameplay for Hylics is pretty standard for RPG Maker games and JRPGs in general, but their theming and execution is fun. For example, stats have unique names that still let you know what they do. For example, Flesh Points is your health, Will is your magic points, Mightiness is strength, and so on. The leveling system's also a bit unique. When you kill enemies in this game, they drop meat, almost always. An item that you use to increase your flesh points. But you can only redeem the meat at a grinder, and the only place that meat grinder is in the location you accessed when you're dead, so it's the underworld. So, in essence, your progression in the game and your ability to increase your stats is directly linked to your dying. So you have to die to level. And you can also only increase your magic points by finding paper cups and using them at water coolers. and the paper cup is destroyed upon use, and the water coolers are depleted. So you have to track down the paper cups along with the water coolers in order to increase your magic points. And Dave Smullen is the person who teaches you how to do this. Your mightiness stat is only increased through muscle obliques, except for aforementioned Snosa, who can kill bugs on the map to gain strength. All defensive stats are just directly linked to your character's equipment. And the items are just as peculiar as the world they are being used in. Most of your restorative items are food in some way. Juices restore will, hot dogs and vegetables and such restore flesh, and the resurrecting item is a microwaved burrito, which you have to microwave in order to use them for reviving and healing, but you can use the frozen burritos before you microwave them as projectile weapons. Make that make sense. You learn new spells, which are referred to as gestures in this game, from TVs, and your whole party learns them as long as they are with you when you learn it. So, while characters may have unique stats, they all draw from the same moveset, more or less. Also, each item and move has a unique animation that's pretty much always a little fun to watch. I mean, the basic attack is just literally you snapping your fingers at someone. It's still fun to see. Another kind of unique thing is that enemies stay dead, meaning that once there are no more enemies in an area, you might as well move on if there's no items, because you'd have nothing left to do there. And that being said, the game's world is incredibly interesting just from the design alone. I want to know more about it. But the game's choice of procedurally generated dialogue for the bulk of the game means that you can't really learn much about this game's world. For example, what are the Ambulant Skulls? Why does Pongorma have mastery over them? What do the Cone Cultists worship? They are like the first enemy. What's their deal? Why do they worship cones? Why does everyone seem to talk in word salads? Is there a reason? Or is everyone just high? And what is the conflict between Wayne and Gibby? What is their beef? I need to know. How long have Wayne and Samsnola known each other? Why do TVs contain powerful moves, and yet they seem to be everywhere? There is not a major location in the game that doesn't contain at least one TV. So does everyone just go around knowing powerful magic? I need answers. And these are just a few examples. So, Hylics is a pretty basic RPG as far as how it functions. It has a very unique presentation that makes it memorable, but due to the nature of the game, it's probably something I'd more send to a friend as a joke more than play as a serious game. It's surreal, a little funny, and it's what I imagine it's like to take psychedelic substances, which is likely inaccurate due to not having taken any myself, and my understanding coming from mainly TV shows. Anyway, here are my overall ratings. For story, Hylics gets a 2 out of 5. This is due to the game not really explaining hardly anything at all. The only real goal you have is to find Gibby, and that's it. The rest of the game is rather like an impressionist painting, yours to interpret, and for me, I personally like a little more tangible narrative. For gameplay, I'll give Hylics a 3 out of 5. It's solid RPG gameplay with some unique takes on a few things. What really drew me to the game was the unique style and presentation of the tried and true RPG mechanics. That being said, being an RPG Maker game places some limitations on how far the creator was able to really take it. I think it says something when the sequel style seems to have taken the original game content and made it even more. But that's just from first impressions of Hylics 2. I, at the time of recording this, have not played it. So, for replayability, I'd also rate it a 2 out of 5 because while it might be worth picking up again and it's not that long to play, one playthrough will pretty much show you most, if not all, of what the game has to offer, so for me, there's not really a draw because I don't really see anything more I can get out of it. As for length, the game gets a 4 out of 5. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's short, it can be done reasonably quickly. I finished it in about 4 hours, which for me, that is about 2 streams. But it gets docked some points due to not really having that narrative. Like I said, I have no idea why we're going after Giddy, I just know we are. Overall, the accounting department averages out my score to 2.75 out of 5. And I'd say that's fair. This game is worth experiencing just because of both the incredibly unique art style, like I said, the presentation is amazing, just because of how odd it is, but it lacks depth beyond the novelty of that presentation. It's mostly sizzle with very little meat to it. From what I understand, the sequel fixes some of these complaints, but I cannot say one way or the other until I play it. So that's all for me this evening. I hope you all enjoyed watching this review, and as always at Corvid Communications, we won't leave you eating crow. Have a good night.